Welcome to the Mystic Millionaire Podcast, where wealth is energy, success is a mindset, and abundance is your birthright. I am Danielle Amos, your host and mentor, here to help you unlock prosperity, embody confidence, and manifest a life you love. Take a breath, align with your truth, and let's manifest millions. Kelly Chase is an entrepreneur, social influencer, podcast host, speaker, and reality TV star, best known for her role as a castmate on the breakaway hit Netflix show Love is Blind Season 1. With over 400,000 followers on social media, Kelly uses her platform and voice to inspire others to chase life and make the most of where they are in their journey. It is a part of Kelly's life's purpose to teach all that she has learned to women all over the world. She believes that if she could feel this newfound confidence, inner love, worthiness, and expansion, that she could help other women feel the same way and empower them to fully step into their greatness. All right, so this is the second part of our podcast because I was a guest on Kelly's first, and now this episode is like a follow-up. You're going to love this conversation with Kelly. She's got great energy, and she takes us on the journey from when she got the call to be on Love is Blind. Well, actually, before that, got the call to actually filming that. And then what happened in 2020 when that show came out, and she had already shifted her identity, or what we know as her self-image. What's really cool about Kelly is that she studied the program that many of you have heard me talk about over and over on this podcast and the prosperity practice, Thinking a Result. So Kelly has firsthand experience in that program, and you're going to hear how she uses the frameworks and the foundation, the education she received from that to build her business and help women today. Kelly, thank you for being here. Thank you for being in the studio for the Mystic Millionaire Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be in your presence.
We had so much fun recording
Yes.
on your podcast. So I'm happy that this is the next stage.
Yeah, me too. I really am. Continued conversation. I feel like also just, I don't know, I always tell people, I'm like, surround yourself with high-minded individuals, and therefore it's just a different energy. You're just kind of vibrating at a different frequency. And I feel like, I don't know, the mind is just going to be a little bit more open this evening for me.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Let's do it then.
Yeah.
So, Kelly, you're known from Love is Blind, Season 1.
Season 1, yes.
Aired in 2020.
Yes.
So how did that happen? How did you manifest that opportunity?
Yeah. Well, I definitely have always wanted to be an actress. So I think that in the back of my head.
Yeah.
But, I don't watch reality TV. Like, it's just like, I've seen some of The Bachelor. I've seen some of like Summer House, I think, on Bravo. But outside of that, I just really don't. I feel like it can be it's just dramatic and it's toxic. And I don't love reality TV.
Okay.
Granted. So I received a text message from an ex-boyfriend. I mean, this was like 13 years ago that him and I, ended our relationship. And we were cordial and everything. So about a year after we split, I received a text message from him one day saying like, hey, Kel, a casting team they're going to be filming, I guess, like a love or dating show here in Atlanta. I can't do it because of my job, but I gave them your information. And I was like, thank you. I don't know if I should be thankful or if that was like a jab.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Okay.
Thinking I can't find love on my own. But anyways, I was grateful, and it connected me with this casting team. It was actually for the show Married at First Sight. And so, because I believe their first season was also Atlanta.
Okay.
So connected with them. I went through the entire interview process. They sent me the contract. Like, they were probably in a month from them sending me the contract, they were going to start filming.
Yeah.
So I was like, and I saw fine print on that contract, and I was like, nope, not doing that. Like,
oh, wow.
Like, I think I was just probably, it was a very like ego driven experience for me, and been like, wow, I get an opportunity to be on TV like I've always dreamed of. but then, yeah, it was like, it's $50,000 if you don't walk down the aisle. And like, because that's the first episode of the show is you walking down the aisle and you have to get married.
Oh.
So I read that fine print very well. And I was like, nope.
Like you pay them 50 grand if you don't do it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how? Okay.
Because that's the whole concept of that show
Okay, I
is
didn't
like,
know that.
you have to see if it would work after
Right.
you get married.
Right. And then do they follow you around after you get married?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
do they
exactly.
pair you?
Yes.
Like they tell you who you have
apparently
to walk down the aisle with?
they
Okay.
do, but I know it's like very like they do a lot of psychology tests.
Okay,
So
got
they
it.
do find what they would deem is like your perfect fit. And
Okay.
there's obviously some success stories. I've never watched the show, but
Okay. Okay.
apparently
But the
some
50
people have been
grand
married.
The 50 grand caught your attention.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
like,
So
it's like a penalty. It's like,
yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, that sounds, nope, can't do that. I'm like, that's what I make in a year. So anyone was like, no.
Yeah.
So anyways, I, left it at that. And I mean, that was maybe in 2014.
Okay.
So fast forward to 2018, April of 2018, I remember it so clear. I was sitting on the floor in my bedroom on the carpet. I don't know, maybe like going through my clothes or something. And during this time of my life, I didn't answer random phone numbers.
Okay.
Random phone number calls.
I don't now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I really don't either now. But I really wasn't back then. And I saw, it was a random number, but it read Santa Monica, California on it. And I was like, well, I like California. Maybe I'll answer this one.
Uh-huh.
And I answered. And hey, hi, Kelly, it's so-and-so from Kinetic Content Casting. We had your file from when we spoke to you years ago. We are filming a new show here in Atlanta. We want to see if you're interested. Are you still single?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, I am. Yes. And it just went from there. I mean, I did a handful of interview series, of course. We did like psych evaluations, that kind of thing. But from April until we started filming October 2nd that year. So
Wow.
it was a 6-month process of
Wow.
interviewing.
Have you talked to that boyfriend that put your name in, that ex-boyfriend way back when?
Yeah. I mean, he's married and has a child now. But yes, I mean, during like
'Cause it's like,
2018.
if he didn't put your name forward.
I know. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
interesting.
And I can't remember how he, like, I didn't tell that many people that I was doing it. And granted, there was another girl that was in our friend group. Like, I wasn't like super close with her, but we all hung out at times. But I want to say because she did the show too. We didn't know until we arrived on set. But
Love is Blind? She was.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just it was coincidence. She was like, "Oh my God, get out of here! Like you're here too." But we have the same like mutual friends, so I'm assuming someone from that friend group it told him, and it got back to him that I was on it too. And when we did get our phones back, I received a text from him one day asking, like, "Are you engaged?" And I was like, "Whoa!" Like, one, how'd you know? But two,
Yeah.
I was like, "Yes." And I did say, "Had you not have done like." I did thank him for it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that was pretty much it. But
That's cool.
It was crazy. Yeah. And I think I saw him maybe, it was 2 New Year's Eves ago, him and his wife. And, he's always very cordial and nice. And he just checked in and said, I'm really proud of you for how you like handled things on social media and everything. And I was like, thank you.
Oh, it's so cool. Like looking back, Steve Jobs says you can connect the dots looking back and just
Yeah.
like going back to that one relationship,
Right.
and how he gave your name. And
Yeah. Yeah. I do, it may not have been the healthiest relationship, but I do attribute a lot to him because I will say the name Chase Life with Kelly was his idea.
No way.
Yeah. So
Okay. He gifted a few things
did.
then.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very
He gifted a lot because I had to heal from a lot.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So the show happened. And then what?
Yeah. We filmed. So we filmed 2018 and we finished up right before Thanksgiving. It was communicated that the guy that I matched with, him and I had, we were like, well, we do like each other. Like, let's date. I don't think that this whole marriage thing is for us or not right now. So we kind of agreed early on that we would just kind of continue through the process and get to know each other better and all of that, but that we would not get married, but with the understanding that we would date afterwards. And it was the last day of our filming, and we had like 10 minutes in between my interview and his interview. So we got there early, sat in my car with me before I drove off. And so he's like, beating around the bush. So he leaves like 2 minutes left. And then he's like, so I know that we talked about our families getting together for Thanksgiving, but I think I'm just going to have to like pump the brakes. Like, I don't think I'm emotionally available to continue dating. And I mean, he said a lot of other things. These are the highlights basically, but he was just like, I am very over this whole process. I've been checked out for like a week and a half, like 2 weeks maybe. I'm just so over it. I'm so done. He's like, and unfortunately, you were a part of it. And in my head, I was like, you can't compartmentalize that in your feelings for me. But I was so taken aback. I was just like, huh? I don't know if I even said anything. And so he's like, okay. And like, I was like, oh, maybe, okay, kind of thing, like very confused. I'm like, we had a plan. Like, what do you mean? And so anyways, he had to go. So he gives me the like hug. We had like made out, like, we had been very intimate with each other. And he gives me the hug where he like turns his head away from me. And it was so cold. And then I'm just looking at him as he's getting out of the car, and he has like one hand up on the door. And then he like peeks his head back in, and he was like, I mean, we'll talk. And closes the door. And I was just like numb. I drove away, went to go grab some food, called my parents. And I was like, well, that like, they're like, oh, you saw Kenny? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I go, yeah, except for I think we just broke up. And they were like, wait, what? Because they knew too. I mean, they had met his family as well. And it was just so wild. So all of that, it was like we were in such an intense situation for 7.5 weeks. Got to know someone. Like, I mean, the questions that we were asking each other, I mean, people, like even married couples probably don't even have these in-depth of conversations sometimes if they're not in a healthy relationship, obviously. Yeah. But like, it was just so intense. We're obviously also, becoming friends with our producers and set crew and everything. And like in a minute, it's gone.
Yeah.
Everything. And now he's gone too.
Yeah.
So I was devastated. I was definitely heartbroken. And a couple weeks later, during that time after the show filmed and me hiring my first mindset coach, I mean, it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't okay.
So this is 2018 still, and it didn't air till 2020.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So I feel like many of us do this where we're like, okay, this didn't work out. So let me put all my attention into something else. We avoid. We're not healing. We distract ourselves from the actual healing. And obviously I didn't know what that was back then anyways. So I had started working with my coach, Erin, and I hired her for business and mindset. I was like, okay, I haven't been working for 8 weeks pretty much right now. So I've taken 2 months off of working. I don't have a full-time job. So I literally was like, great, I have very little income. And after January, I had no income. But working with Erin, I mean, within the first couple of sessions, she's like, I mean, obviously, I did tell her about the show and everything. And she asked me the question. She was like, is the pain that you are feeling, is it because you are so in love with this man that you want him back in your life? She's like, or is it the pain of rejection? And I sat there and I was like, rejection. I was like, I mean, I was like learning to love the man I was getting to know, but the in love, no, I wasn't there yet. But yeah, rejection hurts. And then we started unpacking all the like former boyfriends, relationships, everything that, even from like when I was in preschool, I had a situation where a little 4-year-old girl came up to me and told me I couldn't play with her and the other girls. And to me, that was my first moment of rejection that I remember, right? Ever since doing this work, now I think it's my mother rejected me when she was very sick with me when she was pregnant. And she was probably like, get this fucking baby out of me. So I kind of feel like that was it. But yeah, I think rejection has just been a really big part of my life. And I think that's even like when Love is Blind aired, I was like, what do these people want? Like, I'll do whatever kind of thing. Because I had this, my following went from like 7,000 to 400 something thousand.
Like overnight.
What it felt like, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, they want me to be a health coach. I'll do this. But it was so, like, there was so much resistance. I mean, I kept doing stuff like that. And then I was launching other little programs about, okay, well, maybe we'll do like a dating and relationship program. And I had that. And I'm probably going to like bring it back to life in some way, but in a more empowered, embodied state, because I think I was just operating out of fear and trauma and dysregulated nervous system. I mean, I was chaotic on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to go through and then have the relationship end and then 2 years later come out and the show come.
Oh God,
Like,
I cried.
Yeah.
I mean, so the show aired midnight PST, so 3 a.m. Eastern time. I was working 9 to 5, or actually it was like a 7 to 5 at the time. So I would wake up at 3 a.m., binge, because I was like, I want to know
You're watching.
what everyone's going to be watching throughout the day.
You didn't know.
And we hadn't seen like a preview of it.
Wow.
So, I mean, I was probably bawling every single time.
Because it was imagine. I'm like cringing.
Yeah.
Like just watch it. I don't watch myself. Like,
yeah.
So like, I'm like, that feels like torture.
It was. And, it's interesting because I had a girlfriend of mine, she lives in New York, and she watched I don't think she watched the whole thing, but she did watch some episodes. She was the only person that reached out to me saying, like, it's so weird because I know you so well. Like, this isn't even you anymore. Like, you are not that person that I'm watching on TV. And I'm like,
you had grown?
I had grown so much.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. I was like, I know. I mean, it feels weird for me to watch too.
So what a weird thing. So because what you know, because you studied the program that I coach, Thinking and Results, and know about identity and self-image, something that was filmed in 2018 and then shown on Netflix in 2020, you would have had an identity shift. Well, not everyone would, because a lot of people show up the same, but you being who you are obviously shifted and changed within. And then that show coming back or airing, and you all of a sudden having all these fans and followers on social media. I mean, talk about the paradigm pulling you back into that old you, at least attempting to.
Yeah.
So you had become a totally different woman.
Yeah.
In your own life, but here it is like bringing you back. I mean, a lot of us have such a hard time when we go back to our family's house or where we grew up in high school, because we can be around people that we spent so much time with and it pulls us back into that old paradigm.
I had worked with some brand managers and PR, and they were like, Kelly, like, create workout videos and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. Like, yeah, probably maybe in a different place in my life right now had I just done it and surrendered and just given the people what they wanted. But I just kept having so much resistance around it. And then I'd get frustrated because I'm like, it's just not who I am anymore. And like, although, I can teach a lot of things, but is it something that I want to be doing for the next year? No.
But like, what about 10 years?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was just a lot. Yeah, there was just a lot of.
So what kind of support did you get in 2020 when the show came out and all of these people now are in real time watching you? Did you have a good support system? Did you have coaches around you? What helped you?
Yes, I did. I did have coaches working with me. I want to say right when the show aired, I may not have been working with anyone at that time.
Did the show give you any support?
No.
It's kind of left you like they're like, feed you to.
Yeah. And I'm, in hindsight, last year I actually had a conversation with our like manager that was, our manager basically. And we were on a panel together and I was like sharing very vulnerably, and I was, ooh, like maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but I did. And it was such a healthy conversation because someone then asked her a question and she turned to me and she was like, before I answer that, let me address this. And she was like, the world shut down because of the pandemic. I mean, it happened when our show was airing, basically. And she was like, my mother was really ill during that time. She's like, I didn't know if any of us were going to be alive in 3 weeks. She's like, we kind of just had to do what we had to do with like certain people from the show. And that was it. We didn't know how to manage everyone else and anything else going on. She's like, we didn't know if we were going to live. We didn't know if we were going to have a job. Like, didn't know if my mom was going to be okay, all this stuff. And it just kind of put me in my place. And it wasn't that type of conversation, but she was just highlighting things. And I just was like, wow, what a selfish little brat, Kelly, you were. Like, I mean, granted, those are my true emotions, of course, but I was like, yeah, they just didn't help me. And I mean, it would have been helpful for them to like provide therapy and like all this stuff. And
well, you're not lying.
I wasn't lying. And again, it was a very honest conversation, but I'm glad that she brought that to my attention and didn't just like sit there, because it opened us up. Like, she was like, I honestly
understanding as to where they
understanding were. Because she was like, we spoke offline out of this too, off the panel, but she was like, Kelly, I totally thought you had like wrote Love is Blind and like Netflix off and like reality TV off, like because I think you had been a little vocal about that on podcasts and things and I did see some of that stuff. So, I just thought you were like, screw them kind of thing. And I was like, no, I was like, put me back on another reality TV show. Like, I love the spotlight. Put me back on.
Yeah.
I was like, now I know how to handle things. Like, I would definitely be in a better place right now. But I was like, yeah, but the truth and the reality is, no, I didn't have that support.
And it could have been useful, I think, is what you're saying.
It could have been very useful. Yeah. I mean, granted, yes, I did have some, like a brand manager come in and help with that. But it's like, okay, we'll show up on TikTok and Instagram and all the places. And I'm like, I have an actual job, which there was a lot of fear. It's so, like, again, looking back in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, I've done the work. And I think that was a part of my frustration too, was like, I've done so much work, yet I'm still over here. And it wasn't
like when the show aired, you mean?
Yeah, when the show aired, and even over the last handful of years, since the show aired, I know I'd have conversations with people where I'm like in person, and I'm like, wow, I'm so in my power, I'm so embodied, like I'm having these amazing dynamic conversations, or I just feel like so much like myself when I'm in person with people. But when I'm online, not that it was inauthentic, but I do know that there were times where I think I was creating content because maybe I saw someone else create very similar content and they had super high engagement on it. So I was like, oh, well, if they did, maybe I'll do that. So it was...
You're not alone in that.
Some things were kind of icky feeling, let's put it that way. And I was just like, God, I just remember having conversations to be like, gosh, if like my audience was like sitting here at this party with me right now, like they would see a totally different vibe, or they would feel that, And maybe it was that I was being too hard on myself, and I was exactly what I was online, but I was just like, maybe because I was comparing it to the engagement that I was getting was just, again, it was just like really in my head. But yeah, I mean, I was very burnt out for the first year after the show aired. Because again, I was working a 9-to-5 job. Mind you, this 9-to-5 that I was working was a career that I took in like 6 months prior to Love is Blind airing because I needed a job. Because when I started working with that business and mindset coach in 2018, remember
you didn't have...
in January, my income went. I mean, my parents kind of helped me out for a few months, and then finally they were like, Kelly, we're not doing this. You're gonna have to move home, like go bartend, go do something. And I was picking up all these little odds and end jobs, like trying to make ends meet. And then eventually I was like, why am I gonna go work 3 different part-time jobs, run myself ragged for $12 an hour when I can get a 9-to-5, work 40 hours a week and get paid $20, $30 an hour? Like, let's work smarter, Kelly. So I did, but it was a very low paying salary. I mean, I was making less than $40,000 a year because I just needed something. I didn't have time to go interview around and everything. So I was living paycheck to paycheck. Now this whole like newfound, audience and everything, I'm, creating content, and half my content was probably super cringy because I was like, I don't even know. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so burnt out. I should have quit my 9-to-5 job, honestly, and just like, I was taking the money that I was making off brand deals and paying off my debt.
Got it. Yeah.
So I literally had no real money coming in extra.
So at what point did you meet our mutual friend, Madison, and say yes to the program?
So
where were you? Because I say like there's life before TIF and life after.
Yeah, it was in 2021. And or maybe it was the end of 2020 is maybe when I met her because she invited me to be on her podcast.
Oh, cool.
But then in 2021, I believe is when I signed up to work with her.
Yeah.
This was interesting though. So from 2020, like Valentine's weekend 2020, that's when the show aired, to Valentine's weekend 2021, I was like creating all the content, trying to show up on Instagram, trying to do all the things, working my 9-to-5 job, everything. I was taking Adderall. I'm not prescribed Adderall. I was like running on fumes.
Yeah.
That Valentine's Day weekend, I had 2 anxiety, panic attacks, nervous breakdowns. I have no idea. Didn't get diagnosed. I just knew something was really wrong.
Yeah.
And I wound up for a week after, like my dad drove an hour. Like I couldn't drive. Like I was like, I can't. I'm so like, woo.
Yeah.
My dad drove, came and picked me up, brought me home, and I lived with my parents for a week. And when he told me, okay, Cal, I think it's like time to go back home, I was immediately like,
yeah,
can't do it.
Yeah.
I did. It was fine. I stayed with my job for 2.5 more weeks, called my boss crying, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
And you quit?
I quit.
Okay.
Nothing in the works.
Okay.
I didn't care. I had saved money. Like with brand deals, I had a friend of mine, she was like, Kelly, you just save like 30% of all those brand deals. So like pay off the debt, pay whatever you're doing, but save 30%. Save the 30%. I had whatever money. I invested in Maddie.
Yeah.
And
that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right. It doesn't, but that's how with even my one-on-one, I paid $5,000 for a 3-month coaching program with her, not even bringing in any income except for like,
I say that jokingly because that's a theme of successful people. They do what doesn't make logical sense.
Yeah. It didn't make any sense. My parents were like, you're crazy.
Yeah. What are you doing?
But yeah, so I invested in Maddie, and that was around probably like a week or so after I had quit that job. And obviously like tax season's coming up, right? I get a refund. I did not have to pay anything. So the 30% that I had like banked basically. So I had like $20,000.
Cool.
And I was like, cool, I can just chill for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I did. Like I took 2 weeks off from like everything after I quit my 9-to-5. Obviously I didn't know the tax stuff had happened yet, but or that it was coming yet. But after my 9-to-5, like not coaching, not showing up on Instagram, like literally did nothing. And I cried almost every single day for 2 weeks.
Wow.
I was like, this is all pent up for the last year.
Of course.
Or my life. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It was so much. So much.
So you gave yourself the space, 2 weeks?
Yeah. But I think, why I kept that full-time job that whole time too, again, because I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was using that money to pay off the debt. And in hindsight, there was so much fear. I was like, well, I can't quit because I'm paying off debt and then I won't have any income. And there was a lot of control.
Yeah.
And I think my parents honestly had a lot to do with the influence of that. Like, well, what are you going to do kind of thing. And then when I had the anxiety attacks or whatever it was, my mom was like, your health is more important. I was like, thank you. Thank you for that.
So you invested in the program, gave yourself 2 weeks white space, and then you started studying the program, and then I started studying creating your business?
Yeah, I started creating certain programs around, like I said, like dating, relationships. I probably could have taken like a year vacation.
Yeah.
Time, honestly. 2 weeks wasn't enough, but regardless, I felt like I was at least able to like get some type of just groundedness. And I created a couple. I mean, I had some one-on-one coaching clients and I did that. So from 2021 until the end of 2022, so 1.5 years pretty much, or almost 2 years, I was by myself. I had some months that I made $10,000 a month. Some months I made $0 a month. I think because a lot of what I have already said of like, I was focused on engagement and then, I create something that's maybe more niche specific towards what I wanted to coach on. Then, it's like 20 people looked at it. Yeah. But then I create something that, like a fashion reel, what everybody wants. And it's like, oh, 20,000 people look at that one, you know? And I'm like, okay, I can't freaking figure out my audience, which is also, so it was just like a lot of inconsistency, you know, and there were times like I would post like once every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of inconsistency, but it was reflective of what was going on in my head.
I was just going to say, it's like, and it goes back to self-image. So as we know, you're not going to outperform it. So if you don't go to that root cause and see yourself crystal clear in your mind's eye, then the results aren't going to show up for you in this 3D world.
Right.
And so that's a big part of that program, right? Is like creating that version of Kelly on paper first and then becoming her. And then the results match that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then being authentic to like what that, you know, what that is. So deciding like who is Kelly that the audience wants to see and saying, okay, does that resonate or not with the truth of who you are?
True.
And then who is really Kelly in her heart and then standing in that. And I can see, like, I can imagine that so challenging because of all the fans and what they want to see. And like, they keep bringing you back into this box.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny too, because the other day I did a live and I was like, I know you guys want to, well, I got a Bible recently, which that's a whole other story.
I have
still haven't posted the story really of like how that came about. But I was like, I know you guys are really waiting and anticipating the story about the Bible, but like we're not going to talk about that just yet. I want to tell you why I've been posting some money mindset content and so I, you know, essentially like coached a little bit through my live and it was great. And it was funny because I posted it and I had one person comment like feeling stuck ? Because that was how I like with the caption that I added with the live video. And it was like feeling stuck. Like, just let us know where your outfit is in the link. And I was like, oh my God, I can't.
Going back to what they know you for. Okay, let's talk about this Bible thing.
Yeah.
So I also recently got a Bible, and Maddie had a bit to do with that, actually. About a year. So for those, we'll link Maddie into this, I think.
Yeah,
in the show
for
notes,
sure.
But she's our mutual friend. She was a colleague of mine, and actually her father was in Inner Circle with me in Bob Proctor's world. So I know, her family that way.
Yeah.
And she's always felt like a sister to me, and we got to go to New York together.
Yeah,
on
so
the private
fun.
jet. And but Maddie, about 2 years ago, no, it would have been about a year and a half ago now, or a year ago, she said, I want you to pray, and I want you to pray to God out loud. And I hadn't done that before ever in my whole life. And so I did. And I prayed for an answer about my separation, about leaving. And I got a very clear answer very fast. And the next day, like, it was undeniable that I had to leave. And so that was all because of Madison. And I have the same Bible that you have.
Really?
And I have a small one too that our mutual friend, actually the other woman that was on the private jet with us, Catherine, got me to get. So the two of them. So I found it very interesting when I saw that you got one too, because I'm like, I could feel your resistance and I have like similar resistance. So I'm like, let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
So did you grow up with religion in your home and as a kid, or?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. And to speak to the resistance, it's funny because people were like, you can come to my church. And I'm like, hold on, one thing at a time, guys. Just calm down.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
I have felt a call to go to church, but I'm like, let me do it myself.
Yeah.
So my mom raised us Catholic. My mom she went to Catholic school until she was in high school.
Okay.
So she was raised Catholic. We went to Catholic church. My dad, I just learned this literally like 6 months ago. He's technically agnostic, I guess. Like believes there's a higher power, but doesn't believe in God.
Okay.
I don't know all the terminology, but he always said he was like non-denominational. He was like, I don't know. So he would attend church with us, but he wouldn't like receive communion, that kind of thing. And over time, you know, after I have a sister, after we were confirmed, so I think that's the 8th grade, after we were confirmed, my mom was, it's up to you now if you want to go or not. And I think my mom had an experience too with this priest who came in who was like a guest priest or whatever, but he was very hard to understand. recall why, but it was
Yeah.
like, I don't know, speaking a different language or something. And my mom was like, maybe this is why my girls hate going to church, because they don't understand the priest. Like, I don't remember, couldn't tell you anything from any of my, religious classes that I attended every Wednesday. That
Didn't
part of
stick.
my life was just not like,
Okay.
I don't recall. I never had a connection with it. So in high school, and my whole family, even my mom, she kind of stopped going regularly to church. And we would go maybe on like Christmas or Easter, that kind of thing, over the last 25 years. But anyways, in high school, I mean, I think from high school until recently, it's just been more of like, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual.
Yeah.
And up until about, this whole like personal development journey for me, 2018 and on, before 2018, I'd say I'm spiritual because I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I guess maybe how my dad thinks like, well, I feel like there's something higher going on, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but ever since I started my like self-love journey and personal development and obviously all this work, when I go for walks outside, like I'm just at a peace. Like I have so much peace. And like I always say, I'm like, nature is my church. Like I love being outside. I feel so connected. And I go for like, turtle slow pace walks, not like super fast. I just enjoy taking in the scenery, and I will go up to a flower and like look at it. And I just take it all in. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so grateful that I have the ability to see this and to feel this and to smell it. Like it's so connecting to me. So I'm so present. The nature brings me to presence. Anyway, so I think that's been my like spiritual journey. But, I will attribute a lot of it to Maddie also, because I want to say maybe it was 2 years ago, she introduced me, our whole like cohort, a book called God Works Through You by Robert A. Russell.
Robert Russell, yeah.
And so and everything, Maddie, I just, I'm like, she's 10 years younger than me, but God, that girl is like smart as a tack,
Wise, yeah.
like she's so wise. And I'm like, okay, there's something to it, So I get this book. It's not even a big book. It's super like thin, but it took me a little while to read because it was like Bible verses paired with like scientific knowledge. And I was like, oh, this is very interesting to me. And I really enjoyed it. And then obviously, at the time when I first started working with Maddie, she was definitely using God and universe interchangeably. And then I want to say, since her dad has passed, she has just been God.
Yeah.
Which has been neat. And I haven't felt triggered or resistance whenever I hear her say things. And maybe it's because the way that she says it, she links it, it's such a foundation, like a law, and it makes sense. It resonates with me. So I was like, okay. And furthermore, so I have a family member who struggles really badly. And I feel like simultaneously over the last handful of years too, they pray a lot and they speak about God, and it's very mind-blowing, like the stuff, like it's for totally a different podcast episode, but there's a lot of dark stuff that goes on with this person. And there was something that was even said okay, I'm going to give you something to.
Okay.
I went on a date back in November.
Okay.
Or October with a guy who used to be a former pastor.
Okay.
And I was like, well, this is new.
Yeah.
Also, when the show Nobody Wants This came out, and I was,
oh, yes.
So I'm telling my friends, and they're like, you're dating the rabbi.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so he asked me a question on our first date. And mind you, like, I didn't think it was too much because I want intentionality, right? So he asked me, he's like, what is your relationship? Like, do you ever, like, what's your relationship with God and what's your relationship with Jesus? And I was like, I didn't know there was a difference. Like, literally, that's my level. Very beginner. So anyways, he kind of explains a little bit of it. And then this family member writes something about the dark stuff that is happening. And she says, when I pray to God, it lessens, but when I pray to Jesus, it goes away for a few days. And I was like, it was resonating with the conversation I had on this date. So I'm like, I'm going to reach back out to this guy and like, we're not dating anymore.
Yeah.
But I was like, you don't have to answer, like, totally fine. I want to, like, whatever. I said, but if you're available to have this conversation, this is what she said. And can you respond to this or whatever? And he like immediately like hearts it, writes this long thing. And I was like, whoa. So anyways, I got together with this guy recently so that we could further that explanation.
Yeah. It's like when the student's ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah. So we didn't even start talking about that situation at first. We were talking about like business stuff because he's like, I want to get back into ministry and I want to start like social media, which you could probably help me with and blah, 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 like all this stuff. And then I told him, I was like, I really want to create a program about like helping women to transform their relationship with love, success, and money. Like that's what I really want to do because that's what I have studied. Has been my biggest transformations. That's what I want to give back to the world. And so he literally like takes up his Bible, pulls it open, pulls up in Proverbs 31, reads it, and interprets the verses for me. And I was like, I resonate with every single thing. Like it was so like just like how Matt, it was like the principle of it. I was like, I thought the Bible was going to tell me totally something different, but I was like, wow, it's actually encouraging exactly what I want to teach.
Yeah.
And so with that, and then the combined conversation of how he, like, we got on the phone with this family member and he talked to them for 2 hours and she would like say something that I had never heard of.
This?
Yes. And I was witnessing all this. She would say something and he knew exactly what she was talking about and like all these demons and all this stuff. Again, it was very dark. And then he was like, oh, it's the spirit of this. It's the spirit of this. It's the spirit of this. You need to like let go. You have a lot of unforgiveness. There's a lot of resentment, blah, blah. And I was just like, who is this person? Like, I was so impressed and so fascinated by this. And literally the next day, that's when I ordered the Bible. So it was a lot.
Got it.
It was a lot.
Got it.
I was like, okay, this is it. I don't know.
You don't know where it's going.
I don't know where it's going.
Open.
I've read the first 3 pages and that's about it so far.
Yeah.
So I haven't even really gotten into it. It's probably like all the forwards.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
But
well, I
do
look
like
forward
the
to
foundation stuff that
watching your journey. I think a lot of people are. That's clear from the feedback that you got.
Yeah.
For me, I haven't shared on my, by the time this comes out, maybe.
Yeah.
That I also got the Bible, but I also have attracted someone into my life that has this background. Like I feel like I'm in the what's it called, that show that you
Nobody Wants This.
Nobody Wants This.
Right.
So I can resonate with what you're saying.
That's
and
amazing.
I'm like just surrendering to what's there and know that there's no coincidences. I also think that like for me personally, my understanding and healing my relationship with religion is a big part of my next level identity. Yeah. So interesting parallel.
That is so interesting. It's really been fascinating too. Like other coaches that I have worked with or maybe even studied alongside with, they were also very like, the universe. And I have seen a handful of them also
moving over. Yeah, I use God. I have no problem using that. I think it goes deeper for me than that. And like similar understanding to you with Jesus and God and healing some of maybe the things that was brought up with lack of understanding.
Oh yeah. It was interesting too because I didn't tell my parents. My dad saw it on social media like, you got a Bible. There's probably there's a lot, especially coming from him. But you know what? My dad loves me and supports me and whatever. But literally they were just like, don't join a cult. Like, don't we know you can take things a little far sometimes. So like, don't join a cult. Like, don't become that like Bible beater, blah, blah. I'm like,
beautiful.
Don't project your shit on me, okay?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's opening up a big part for
you
and probably bringing things together in a way that you've learned before, especially having someone like Madison by your side.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
very
yeah.
Cool.
It's been very neat. And I'm still, in her mentorship programs, in her community. And I just continue to just feel, continue to resonate with her teachings and aspire to be like that
Yeah.
myself and like yourself. And, you know, I just have to stay, you know, keep reminding myself, like, I probably should do it again as far as like self-image work. And
Absolutely, because you can't outperform that image that you have in your mind, right? So, and you know that, and you've got all the tools. That's
Right.
why that program is part of your life.
Yeah.
It's given to you for the rest of your life for that
Oh, yeah.
reason. It's one that I
amazing.
keep coming back to,
Yeah.
you know, and I've been in this work for 10 years. I
Wow.
was a client in 2015
Wow.
of that, and I still study it. I'm on lesson 6 actually right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and
I've,
that's
I've
like a
definitely
big
gone through it
part.
a few times.
Yeah, it's a big part of like how this rebrand happened and the image upgrade is because of that program.
I love that.
Yeah. Kelly, I'm so grateful you're here in the studio. Thank you for
too.
being here and continuing the conversation.
Thank you.
Any last words of wisdom for our audience before I give you my 3 questions?
Ooh. Like, I mean, I want to say like we all have the answers inside of us, just as a reminder, because it's funny, even when I go, you know, even when I'm like mentoring with Maddie, you know, for example, she's like, does anyone have any questions? And I'm like, I know I do have a question, but I already know the answer. So like, why do I even need to ask her? I don't need to like take up this space kind of thing. And, you know, just stay true to yourself. Don't let the metrics and the numbers and all the things, just stay aligned to who you are, where you want to go, where you want to grow. Just
Focus on that.
focus on that. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Question number 1.
Okay.
Abundance in 1 word. Go.
Growth.
Good. Love that.
Hmm.
Okay. Millionaire mindset. Do you have one indulgence, one non-negotiable investment, if you will, in yourself or something that keeps you in that high frequency of abundance? That's a non-negotiable, if I didn't say that.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it would be investing in mentorship,
Okay.
because that just creates a ripple, but also just because this is kind of like my confidence. It's just a part of me. I invest in organic food, you know, and it's just always been in my budget, even when I was struggling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
3rd question. You have 1 book only to read for the rest of your life over and over. What is that book?
Oh, man. Maybe it would be God Works Through You. I really love that. Yeah. Or I'd say like the 4 agreements or something. Well, not that one yet. I knew
oh my gosh,
everybody was anticipating
she's gonna
that.
say it.
Maybe ask me in a year from now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have gotten through like 30 pages of it.
Yeah. Okay, so God works through me.
God Works. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say that or like 4 agreements, or I said that, but
4 agreements.
4
is
agreements.
another book that we've heard a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for
having
being
me.
here.
Thank you. Love it. Thank you.